That's going to cost me an arm and a leg. Ugh, the UNSC have insurance. Ugh, it's going to take me weeks to sort all that out. Oh, hey, looks like the drum's back. Well, better get recording then. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Clips Phoenix, and welcome to the channel. So, yeah, I've picked up a new game recently, and I just want to have a little talk about it. This is more like a first impressions and a bit of a review. Oh well, you'll see. Let's talk about Metal Gear Survive. So let's get the obvious out of the way. I am not a die-hard fan of the Metal Gear series. Yes, I do play MGS5 on the odd occasion because I really like how expansive it is. You can continue to make your base and everything, but it doesn't really feel like I've ever completed it, which is kind of a shame. But that's where MG Survive comes into this little grey area. The gameplay is quite similar to MGS The Phantom Pain, which I can actually agree with. I really like the gameplay aspect. You have to defend these areas from these essentially zombies in order to progress further, and I really do like the types of enemies that you get. The problem is the execution. The story is extremely bland. It is your stereotypical, we have to get out of this place kind of scenario, instead of something a little bit more unique, which I really find very depressing. I'm sorry, but I can't really say anything about that. The gameplay mostly revolves around melee combat. You can get guns, but the resources required to make them get pretty thin over time. I'm not too sure if the resources respawn after a while, but I haven't really played it for that long. I would have liked to see something like that, like in Fallout, but I don't really think that happens here. Your main weapon would be the spear, which is a very decent damage dealer. You can use it to attack enemies at quite a distance, but they can still close around you in a horde-like mode, and there's little you can do to get away from it. The game gets hard. The game is pretty hard beginning on, but as you progress, it actually gets progressively quite simple. But that's not my biggest issue with it. Like I said, the story is one of its major flaws, but another part of it is the cutscenes. I mean, come on! The cutscenes are essentially not the MGS of what you expect. They're more like the iDroid conversations from the Phantom Pain game. It is very, very bland. You don't see the characters talking, they don't have much of a personality. You get the idea. It's not entertaining in that way. Not to mention, there's actually a few parts of the story which could have had some kind of interesting moments. So, spoiler alert in case you haven't played this. In one mission, you go over to a nearby shack where you find a dead person who has been shot up. This could have been an interesting moment, because when you get back, the guy, one of your teammates, states on how odd this is. This could have been really interesting. There could have been like another gang out there trying to kill you or something similar. So why didn't they do that? That would have been a much more interesting story than what we have had. I'm sorry, most of my complaints are about the story and not really about the gameplay, because the gameplay is more or less pretty solid. The only complaints I have is more along the lines of the tower defense mechanism it has for the wormhole generators. But what I can really praise about MG Survive is the base building. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm going to ruffle some feathers with this, but this is how the mother base building section of the original Phantom Pain game should have been. I found, while I do like Phantom Pain, I don't like the fact that you cannot customize your own base to your own advantage. So, for example, I could say that I wanted a new platform, let's say a new storage platform for extra materials. I could have had, like, I don't know, maybe some kind of forge, maybe some kind of canisters or something to increase my gain of raw materials. But that didn't happen. I don't really understand why it didn't happen, because that would have been very, very interesting to make. It would have also presented a very unpredictable style of raiding the enemy's FOB. That would have been very nice to see. But this game did that, even though you don't get to face against the enemy's FOB. I really do like that part of the game, but I don't like the game in general. It's not a game that I would actually recommend to anyone. It is just bland, to say the least. It's a best 4 out of 10, maybe a 5 out of 10. All the complaints, like I said, are mostly about the story and not really about the gameplay, because, like I said, the gameplay is pretty decent. But that can be said for just about anything. The problem is with the story, and yeah, that's just about it. Now I know a lot of people have got a problem about the name, but I'm not a big. But like I said, I'm not a die-hard fan, so to be perfectly honest, I don't really care. Metal Gear Survive sounds like a very interesting title, but they could have called it Survive a Metal Gear Story, or something similar, which would have been perfectly fine. So, it's more lines of personal preference than anything else. I don't really have much more to say than that, but that's the way things go. So, other than that, I hope you're having a good day, and everything in between. I am hopefully going to be getting something to record my original Xbox games, but that's going to be taking a while, as I'm planning a trip to Japan, and it is expensive. Trust me, I don't get a lot of money for my part-time work. So, yeah, hopefully I will be start recording that soon. But until then, have a good day. My name is Eclipse Phoenix. This is me,